Farmer's Guide Consultancy. In this publication, non-parasitic physiological disorder, fruit macro cracking. Tomato fruit macro cracking may develop on the fruits. They could either be radial growth cracks radiating from the stem, or concentric cracks encircle the fruit. Cracking is associated with rapid fruit development and wide fluctuations in water availability to the plant. Dry spells followed by heavy rains and high temperatures, or after excessive watering that follows a dry period, will cause considerable cracking on fruit that is ripening. Solution: mulching. Avoid heavy application of nitrogen fertilizer. Water evenly. Fruit micro-cracking, RUSSETING. This is characterized by several small cracks on the tomato skin. The sequence of high and low fruit expansion rates combined by low fruit skin elasticity is responsible for russetting. Cycles of shrink expansion of fruit is the result of high water stress at midday followed by high root pressure at the end of the day. Excessively low nighttime air temperatures, which lead to water condensation in the skin of fruits warmer than the air around them. Solution: a combination of crop management practices, greenhouse temperature practices and irrigation strategies should be used to reduce the occurrence of this disorder. In areas where day and night temperature vary drastically, it's advisable to use a greenhouse so that temperatures are regulated. Gold spot, gold speck. Tomato gold spot is caused by calcium oxalate deposition under the skin and becomes worse in high humidity environments. This disorder induces a dull aspect to the fruit and weakens the peel, shortening tomato shelf life. Solution: providing a balanced nutritional program, especially between potassium and calcium, will minimize the occurrence of this disorder. Use of nitrates instead of chloride-based fertilizers will reduce the risk of tomato gold spot. Cat-faced fruit. This condition is usually caused by unfavorable growing conditions like drops in temperature and poor soil. Cat facing appears when part of the fruit develops before the rest, disease, or by insect adults and nymphs feeding on the surface of the fruit as indicated by unsightly dimpling, deformity, and deciduous scarring. Similar damage can also appear on fruits such as peaches, apples and grapes. Solution: good growing practices, especially temperature control, should be followed in greenhouse production of field transplants. Excess nitrogen, aggressive pruning, and accidental exposure to hormonal herbicides should be avoided. Fruit hollowness, puffiness. Tomato fruits may end up hollow if they weren't completely pollinated, as flowers or something failed in early seed development. This happens for a variety of reasons, including improper temperature or excessive rains that may interfere with pollinator activity, or incorrect fertilization, especially when levels of nitrogen are high and potassium are low. Hollow fruits, also known as puffiness in tomatoes, can't be reversed in fruits already developing, but future fruits can be protected by doing a soil test before fertilizing. Environmental conditions that deter pollinators are difficult to control, but most puffy tomatoes disappear as the season progresses. Solution: good growing practices, especially temperature control, should be followed in greenhouse production of field transplants. Balance the levels of nitrogen and potassium are low. Watering control and correct fertilizer program should sort out the problem. Sun scald. On tomatoes, sun scald will appear as a yellow or white spotted area on the side or upper part of the fruit that has been directly exposed to the sun. As the fruit ripens, the affected area may become blistered before it finally turns thin, wrinkly, and paper-like in appearance. At this stage, the fruit becomes more susceptible to secondary fungal problems, like alternaria. Solution: to find cause of sun scald in tomato plants, you should look towards one of the following possibilities. Is the fruit exposed to direct sun? Is the weather dry and hot? This is the most likely cause. Have you pruned lately or disturbed the vines while harvesting? The removal of foliage or broken vines can also expose the fruits to sun damage. Have plants recently lost foliage due to pests or disease? This too can lead to tomato sun scald, as the fruits have no cover from the sun's blaring heat. Finally, when did you last fertilize and with what? A lack of nitrogen once the fruits have set can contribute to this problem as well. Blotchy ripening. Blotchy ripening has been linked to potassium and boron deficiency and to high nitrogen levels, which promote excessive growth. This syndrome has sometimes been attributed to infection by tomato mosaic virus, but this does not seem to be the definitive cause. Weather plays a role in the development of blotchy ripening. The disorder is more prevalent when temperatures are very high. Affected fruit ripen unevenly, with hard, gray to yellow patches. The patches do not turn red, but remain gray or turn yellow. When fruit are cut, the vascular tissues may appear brown and rotted. Solution. Growers should provide balanced fertilization and, in greenhouses, avoid excessively high temperatures, if possible. Failure to set fruit. Solutions. 1. Insufficient pollination. The first thing to consider is how easy it might be for pollinating insects to reach your crops. Tomatoes are self-fertile, which means each flower can pollinate itself. Nevertheless, the presence of bees and/or wind dramatically improves pollination by nudging the flowers just enough to help dislodge the pollen from the stamens. If you're growing tomatoes in a greenhouse or polythene tunnel, it may be worth considering whether pollinating insects have ready access to the plants. Open up doors and vents, which will also help to create a good through flow of air, keeping plants cooler and reducing the risk of disease. You can artificially pollinate tomatoes by lightly shaking the plants yourself to mimic the bee's buzz. Twang string lines or canes supporting vining tomatoes, or lift and drop, gently, from a very short distance. Container tomatoes. A lack of fruit set, when flowers fail to produce fruits before they wither and drop, is one of the most common complaints among tomato growers. It's frustrating and it's not fair, particularly given all the attention you've no doubt lavished on your plants to get them this far. Solutions. 2. High heat levels. The only thing you can do during a heat wave is bide your time. In the meantime, keep plants well watered and healthy, so that when temperatures finally subside they'll be in an excellent position to ramp up production once more. Don't forget that different tomato varieties are suited to different climates. If you're in a hot part of the world, grow a heat-tolerant variety that is recommended for your region. An added complication is humidity, or lack of it. Very high humidity can clog the pollen, so it's unable to drop, while in very dry climates flowers may become so parched that pollen fails to stick and simply rolls straight off. In this instance, regular watering may help to raise the humidity around the plants just enough to improve conditions. Solutions. 3. Not enough fertilizer, or the wrong type. The final factor to consider is soil fertility. Are your tomato plants getting the nutrition they need to grow plump, tasty fruits? Even if you have rich soil, from the moment the first flowers appear you should be feeding your tomatoes with fertilizer that's high in potassium, or potash. Potash helps promote flower initiation, and hence fruit production. Edema. Signs of edema plant disease vary between susceptible species, but often include bumps, blisters or water-soaked areas on the undersides of leaves. These areas may expand and become corky, but in other plants, curling and distortion are common. White, crusty eruptions may form along the leaf veins or gall-like structures can develop under leaves with yellow corresponding spots on the upper leaf surface. Solutions. Because it's not a disease, there are many ways to treat edema, depending on the cause. If your plant has edema, first adjust your watering habits. Most plants should never sit in water, and are the soils draining well. Roots tend to absorb water faster when the water is warm and the atmosphere is cool, so wait to water until the sun is up in the morning whenever possible. Indoors, humidity can have a considerable influence on edema. Improving air circulation around plants will help reduce humidity into safer ranges. Increasing the light intensity is helpful for many plants with edema, but be sure not to cook them by moving them too quickly into brighter light. Make these changes gradually, over the course of a week or two, slowly leaving the plant in brighter light for an increasing length of time, until it no longer wilts in response to the sun. Lastly, make sure you're fertilizing your plant properly. Plants with low available potassium and calcium can be more susceptible to edema. If cultural conditions seem correct for your plant, a soil test may be needed. Adjusting the pH can make more nutrients available, or you may need to add more of the nutrients that are lacking. Herbicide injury. Injury symptoms are typically seen in older leaf tissues. The leaves will show chlorosis, yellowing or whitening, between the leaf veins and burning around the leaf margins. Solution: herbicide injury can't be reversed, but if the symptoms are not severe and the plant does not die, new growth may be normal. However, the likelihood of a plant fully recovering from herbicide damage is low. Plants injured by herbicides often produce fewer flowers and are stunted, resulting in reduced yield.